Guys, we're back. We are back literally. We are hitting back today with some triceps. A very new fitness factory here. So I have been a little bit MIA. I do apologize. Dad life has got the better of me, but we've got Miles on board. He's going to be the behind the scenes man and capture more of this journey. So I want to try and show you guys a lot more than just the training and the education side of things. So there'll be a few a day in the life of coming up, and just to really give you the whole behind the scenes look at what it's like to obviously try and get ready for a bodybuilding show next year, be a dad, run my business as well, and take care of all my clients. So without further ado, we'll get straight into it today. I've had a little bit of a look around at the gym. Whenever I am at a different gym, be it, away on a holiday, or if you're interstate, or even just training to a different gym in your own area, you don't have to panic. You don't have to freak out, because a lot of the time we follow a structured program, but the main thing is you still got to enjoy yourself. You still got to have fun. So basically what I'll do today is I'll explain some of my methodologies when I'm going to a new gym, so I can show you guys how we can still get a really good and productive workout, but even if they're using some different machines and some different angles, you don't have to worry about that, because at the end of the day, you got to have fun, you got to apply the effort, you got to enjoy it. And I think, in my opinion, that's the best way for long-term results. So we'll get into it. We're going to start with the back. We'll get in some triceps after that. I always like to start with a lat movement to begin. We'll go an overhead pull down. Then we'll go into some rowing. So pretty much 2 lat movements today, 2 row movements, and we'll try and get them from a few different angles. So an overhead lat bias movement, then we'll get our lat bias row. Then we'll probably move on to something like an upper back row, and then something with a bit more of a neutral and a closer grip. Might even throw some rear delts in there as well. So we'll get started, overhead pull down. Let's get after it. When you are selecting a bar for something like an overhead pull down, you got quite a few choices, and it's got to be what feels comfortable for you. So you got your traditional wide grip bar. Thing is, when training lats, in my opinion, you don't need to go overly wide. Sometimes you actually feel your lats less. So I always recommend somewhere around that shoulder width, maybe like an inch out. Now, I just want to have a feel of that bar today. It's probably a touch wider than I would have liked, but something like this, again, a little bit too narrow. So it's kind of like Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold. You got to find something you feel comfortable on, but the main thing is, when we're doing these overhead movements, the main cues, really try and think about driving that elbow down, almost towards your hips. So keep sternum tall and drive down. So if you feel that more, shoulder width apart, go for that. If you like it a little bit wider, but I just don't think you need to go too wide. I remember back in the day reading the bodybuilding magazines, and it was always wide grip for a wide back. But really, a wide back is just built lats. So whatever you can feel and activate your lats best on, will give you that width. Even though it's just a lat pull down, it feels so different to those typical life fitness ones. Oh man, so much. It's like a kid in a playground in here. It can be a little bit overwhelming. If you're like me and you live and breathe this stuff, you come into a new gym, you almost want to train every single muscle group. Some of the leg pieces here look great. There's back machines I've never even tried before, so it can be a little bit overwhelming even for someone like me, but main thing is try and stick to your principles. So like I said, we'll hit 2 big lat movements today, 2 big rows. If I get excited, we throw something else in, but a little bit of rear delt and some triceps, and we'll be done. Because it is a foreign stack and I'm not really used to, if this 80 kilos like a typical 80 kilo, we'll see how this one goes. We'll be pretty close to a working set. I'll know after about 5 or 6 reps how hard it's going to be. We'll do 2 big working sets here. For back, I really like to hit that failure point on an overhead lat movement between 10 and 12. So we'll see how we go. If it's hard, I'll take it to failure. If I feel like I've got a little bit more, we'll use this as our last warm-up set. I just said to Miles off camera, we'll see how this one feels. Sometimes I can be a little ambitious, but main thing is I always want that form to look good. So even if I overestimate and it's only like a 7 or an 8 rep set, that's still perfectly fine. I'll just know for next time that, right, if I'm trying to hit 10 to 12, obviously we'll just back it off a touch, but we'll see. Something like this is fairly safe. You can be a little bit ambitious as long as you're not rocking back and forth. Really, you're not probably going to injure yourself going a little bit heavy overhead. Things like your squats and your deadlifts and those bigger compound movements that are more free weight based, you have to be a little bit more, I would say, calculated, but something like this, we're going to have a crack. Oh man, that felt good. You'll see then the last few reps, rather than stop when I couldn't get a full range rep, I'm still trying to work in that lengthened range. Just those last, I think it was about 3 reps, so you can take that set a little bit further past the point of contractile failure. I think one of the biggest mistakes I've seen on a lat pull down is people tend to maybe overload it a bit too much with the weight, and then it almost becomes more like this rowing motion where they're getting a lot of upper back involved. So I think the main thing is keep your sternum tall. Like I said, drive elbows down to hips. The more upright you can keep that torso, generally you'll get more lat. If you start to go back with that torso, you're gonna get your shoulder blades and through the rhomboids and traps start to take over a little bit more and becomes a bit more like a row. Whew. Second working set here. I'm gonna keep the same weight as the first set. I think it might have been about 8 or 9 good reps, and I'm a big fan of doing a drop set on a lat pull down. So we'll go from this, we'll back it off sort of like 15%-ish, and we'll rep out again to failure, hopefully maybe another 10. Then we'll move on to our first row for the day. Yeah, sometimes you do a drop set like that and it doesn't even feel like you've taken any weight off at all. But just get those extra reps, even if it was probably 6 or 7 good ones, still you're taking that set so much further than if you just stopped after that first set. So I'll catch my breath, then we'll move on to rowing movement number 1. So for the first roll of the day, because they got some really nice pieces here that are all chest supported, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a rowing movement that isn't chest supported so that we do get a little bit of that lower back involved. So I'm not a deadlifter. I do Romanian deadlifts for my hamstring and glutes, but I don't do a traditional deadlift from the floor. So I still like to, on my back days, include something that is going to stimulate that lower back a little. So chosen this bent over nice T-bar plate loaded row. So I pretty much found a comfortable position first try on that one. When you are doing a T-bar row, it's important to find that sweet spot with your feet. Whenever you are doing a free weight movement, ideally we want to keep that chest down and parallel to the ground. When you're working with free weights, obviously gravity works straight up and down. So you want to try and keep that torso working against gravity. If I'm doing a T-bar row like here, it's almost becoming like a 45-degree pull through that back. So to get more tension through your upper back, which is ultimately what you're trying to build, keep that chest down, hinge at the hips, nice knee bend, and really try and pull those elbows up towards the ceiling. Oh man, that got heavy fast. So this is a good example. Being a new piece, I jumped straight up from that 20 to the 50. I thought the 50 would be fine. That was actually pretty hard. So got pretty close to failure there. We could almost call that one a working set. I think we'll do 2 more on top of that. I might just chuck 5 kilos on from here, and that's gonna feel plenty heavy enough for this one. I could already feel with your T-bars, sometimes balance becomes an issue, especially on the plate loaded ones. At free weight, you can sort of adjust a bit more, but being in a fixed position, I struggled a little bit then with my balance. So that's why you see I'll stand up first, I'll adjust my feet, I'll then squat and hinge and get into that position. So take your time on these ones, get comfortable, and then you can load them up a bit more. Oh man. Oh dude. Felt every kilo of that extra 5 then. Jesus. Oh. Oh. Dude, that was hard. I think what we'll do, honestly, the first 3/4 of the rep, it feels fine, but then just getting that a little bit extra, that top range where I'm pulling my shoulder blades together, that feels like 10 kilos heavier. So what we'll do here, we'll do 1 more there. Lower back feels fine. I'll do the 55, I'll strip the 15 off, then we'll just keep going with that 40. And again, we don't need tons of volume. If you're doing the reps right, honestly, and you're taking them to failure and you're using plenty of effort, 2 sets is gonna be plenty on something like this. So already we're not even quite 2 exercises in my back, pretty much from neck to ass. I've got a great pump, it feels fatigued, so we're halfway there. Start to feel a little bit then in the drop set, just the lower back tightening up a touch. That's not a bad thing because your lower back is going to be working, but there's a difference if you're in this position here and you're feeling your lower back, or if you look like a dog shitting and you got that pelvis tucked, that's where you're going to strain your lower back. So as long as you're in a braced and comfortable position, if the lower back's burning a little bit, that's okay, it is working. All right, this one's done. We'll move on to another lat movement, then we'll finish off with one more row. So this is slightly different to our first lat movement. We're more on this sort of like 45-ish, 60-degree range now, rather than being completely overhead. So it's almost like a hybrid in between a row and a pull down. I've seen there's a few different ways you can adjust handles here. So you could be a little more supinated, you could be a bit more neutral. We'll have a play around with a couple. Typically I'll start sort of like in a neutral and then I'll tweak from there. It gives you a good base. I think I'll do this one single arm. The reason why I like to do more of these, we'll call them the hybrid sort of lat overhead rows, single arm, is it allows you to manipulate your torso angle a little bit more. So I actually like to lean slightly into the side that's pulling. So if you did two arms at once, obviously you can't lean into both sides. So with a single arm here, you can even offset your hips a little and face it away. And then I'm thinking more of a downward drive than I am a row back. Again, because I really want to emphasize the lats a bit more, it's more about that upper arm extension, drive an elbow down towards hip. This feels quite good, this machine. Nice and smooth. So first round, especially being a new piece, really just get a feel for it. I might try supinating a little bit more. I think neutral's just a little better. All right. So you'll see the angle position a little bit more now. Twisting hips away a touch. You don't have to, you can see if you feel better front on, but I like a little bit more of a twist. Oh, we'll get some weight on there. When we're starting to get this far into a workout, you notice we pick the pace up a little bit. Once you're warmed up and there's plenty of blood in that target muscle, you don't necessarily need as many feeler sets or practice sets. So we just did a couple of quick ones there. Really, I'm using those just to gauge what sort of weight I'm going to be using for those top sets. But ideally, you don't want to use too many that you end up building up fatigue and then taking away from that output in those bigger sets. So a couple of quick ones, 2 working sets, and this one will be done again. One more of these. I always try, especially on the overhead stuff, as I'm reaching that failure point, still keeping my chest tall. It can be easy to get another couple of reps out where you hunch over, upper traps engaged, but really that's taking it off exactly where we want to feel it, which is that lat. So keep chest proud, focus on driving that elbow down. If you do have the capacity to do a couple of lengthened passes at the end, go for it, but try not to avoid the mistake of shoulder rolling through and the upper traps getting involved. Final round for this one here. What we'll do, rather than just doing another drop set, we'll do a little bit of a rest pause here, so some myo reps, which for single arm lat rows I find really beneficial. So we'll hit our failure point, which I think is going to be somewhere around that 8 to 11 mark. I'll keep the same weight on. I'll take about 20 seconds rest. We'll go again to failure with that same weight. Even if it's 3 or 4 quality reps, doesn't necessarily matter. We'll take another little breather, 20 seconds, and then go again once more. What the theory is behind this is those later reps in our set are what are called to be the most effective reps. So essentially they're the reps that create the best muscle building response. So by doing here a rest pause myo reps, we're like staying in that targeted rep range of those really effective reps. So it's better suited for some movements rather than others. For example, on the T-bar row, it wouldn't have been as beneficial with the lower back, probably would have given out first, but something like this, it's a little bit more supported or, you know, dare I say isolated, the myo reps can be really well performed. So a couple of lengthened ones there, we'll take 20 seconds off. We'll do it twice, so I think I'll probably only get 3 or so good ones here. I reckon that was about 9 quality reps, so if we can get 3 and then 3 again, it's gonna take what was a set of 9 to 15. So a few deep breaths, get set to go again. Oh, geez. Oh man. Oh. One more of those. If you don't have a clock handy, we're lucky here, there's one straight in front of me, but really 20 seconds, it should be enough just to bring that heart rate down a touch. Take maybe 4 or 5 deep breaths, but you don't want to rest too long that you start to think about that you have another set. So really when that starts to happen, you know time's up. Okay, last ones. One more. Oh, man. The lats, absolutely destroyed. When you are doing a alternating movement like this, don't rush straight into the other side. Even though technically the other arm is fresh, you don't want to let you fatigue, so your cardiovascular fitness, I'm still puffing pretty hard. You don't want to let that limit your next set. So whether it be single arm overhead like this, dumbbell row bent over on a bench, you know, something definitely like a Bulgarian split squat, take your time between opposing sides of the body. Otherwise your second side will suffer. Sometimes you just even have to shake your hand out a little bit if you're finding that grip strength starting to go. Definitely for your big sets, use a strap. You don't want your hand and your forearm to be the limiting factor. Ooh. Oh. Oh, man. Oh. 20 seconds in, last time we got to do that. I was just saying to Miles off camera, my back is absolutely toast. Sometimes it's when you're using new equipment, when you know you're being judged with the camera, you make sure that form's even better, the intensity is even higher, and sometimes that's why filming your sets can be advantageous, not just so you can check your form, but it holds you accountable to your technique too. Oh. Oh. Oh man. It's always my goal as a coach and even as a bodybuilder. I'm never going to be the strongest guy, but what I pride myself on is two things: effort and technique. I always want to make sure I'm one of the hardest workers in the room, because then, you know, the thing about this sport is your results are directly determined by your input. So it's not a team sport, you got no one else to blame, but what you get in this sport is all on you. Your discipline, your adherence to nutrition, how hard you train, how hard you recover, it's all encapsulated in you and your efforts. That's why I love it so much. So my goal is always that if I was training in any gym, if a random filmed one of my sets, that set would be good enough to go on the internet. And I think if you look at your technique like that, right, hold yourself accountable, hold yourself to a standard that if you had to go online, you get critiqued by others that your technique is as good as it can be. So of course, effort and intensity, two huge drivers for your results, but there's no point having intensity and effort without that technique, because a lot of it can go to waste. We wanted to do something for the upper back. There was a really good machine that I wanted to try, but it's busy. So sometimes you just got to adapt on the fly. I always like a low row on my back days. Arguably a little bit similar to the bent over T-bar row, but the way I'm going to do this one today to really prioritize the upper back, I really want that sort of that meat between the upper traps and the middle upper back through your middle traps and rhomboids. Typically what we'll do here, oh, that feels pretty heavy actually. I'll lean into it a little and then it's straight up and through. So I lean,
You're good.
all right, that was pretty heavy. I'm used to the ones that the Derrimits and Riderwear where you can probably do like 100, 120. That's 60. Hell, yeah, 30 aside. Felt really tough, which that doesn't matter. We can pretty much count that as a working set. But when I am doing a low row like this, I am mainly focused on that upper back trying to do the work. So the row we just did then, I was really trying to fix my scapula to get more lat. Now, let those scapulars go. You really want them to pull together. So hopefully you can see a little bit on this one as I am rowing, keeping my chest firm against the pad. If we're starting to rock back, it's taking it off where we want to be feeling at. So it's kind of like if you think about a piece of string, if you're moving your chest back and trying to row back, that piece of string isn't really getting any shorter. Whereas if you keep your chest on and then row back, that string is going to shorten, which is that contraction. So it's a good way to think about things. Sometimes people think they're doing more range of motion when actually, in theory, they're doing less. So when you're doing a chest supported row, keep your chest on. Chest on, drive elbows back as far as you can, and the shoulder blades will pull together naturally. So you might have noticed that set then, I was a little more leant over, and I felt it even more through that upper back. You almost want to let your shoulder blades go and lengthen so you can get that nice stretch, jam that chest on, and then row straight back. So honestly, you don't need much weight at all on this machine, but that feels great. I'm not concerned by the numbers on here. It's either going to feel hard for your muscle or not hard. So it's challenging from upper back. My form feels good, and most importantly, I'm getting a great pump through those mid to upper traps. So we'll go one more on this last one. I think we might just do a little drop set for good measure to make sure that upper back is toast, and then we'll get into these triceps. Okay. Oh. Oh. Oh, dude, I haven't felt my back like this for a long time. Oh, that was great. I don't know how long that took. Might have been an hour. Got through 4, hit it from basically every angle. We'll just get through 2 tricep, and then the session will be done. Highly recommend this gym. It's been great here. All right, pretty straightforward with our triceps today. I do have chest tomorrow, so I've got to be aware of that, but we'll do 2 exercises. Any sort of push down is going to be fine. I really like the straight bar. I just find, for me, you got stability through your wrist. You knew plenty of load. Rope is fine as well. The rope sort of got demonized recently because it wasn't as stable, but it's still perfectly fine. You look at any of the guys with huge arms, they still use the rope. So whether it's a single arm, whether it's a bar, whether it's a rope, start off with a basic push down. We'll build up to 2 working sets. So I might do 2 in the lead up, and then we'll go on overhead position. So again, you could do that with a cable. They've got a really nice plate loaded piece here you could use it with a dumbbell, but essentially getting that arm up and overhead, you get a little bit more of a stretch for that long head. That should be it for today with triceps. Nothing too crazy with these. I try and keep my elbows by my side. I'm not completely fixing them, but also if they do flare out a little bit, you can let that go. Trying to keep my chest tall, not shrug up. So I think about pushing my shoulder blades down and back and trying to really just isolate the elbows. If it's just your elbows moving, essentially that's going to be all tricep. If you're starting to get a bit of shoulder and elbow, I like to try and avoid that. We'll just keep those arms locked in by the side, pushing that bar straight down. Now, what you can do, you can actually push that bar into your thigh and hold for a half a second. You might get a little bit more of a feel of the tricep. It's not going to make a night and day difference, but if you're someone that struggles to feel those triceps, give that little trick a go where you push the bar down into the leg and actually lock it in. Oh. Oi. I think that was 13. If you're superstitious, maybe finish on 14, but again, for something like this, I'm trying to keep any sort of body English to a minimum. Could have I done 15 if I turned it more into a press? Arguably yes, but will that be any more tricep? I think not. So I think that weight's just about spot on. I'll give myself about 90 seconds, a minute 20 here. 90 seconds, 2 minutes here. We'll do the same weight, and then what I like to do, especially on the arm stuff, we'll do probably a double drop set just to fill them with heaps of blood, because who doesn't love a good pump? Hey, one more drop. Okay. As many it takes me to get 12 here. Oh. Okay, 3 and 3. Oh. Last 3. Oh. Oh, dude. Oh. Honestly, it doesn't take much sometimes. Again, you cannot replace intensity and effort. So a good little way to think about your sessions is not necessarily what can I do more, but what can I do better? I don't know if it's true, but I did hear Panada, their leather is the same leather they use in Ferrari seats. Don't know if it's true or not, but mate, this might be the closest I ever get to sitting in a Ferrari, who knows? Whenever you are doing an overhead movement for tricep, be it dumbbell, be it a standing rope, something like this, it's super important to line up your upper torso and upper arm to the mobility you have access to. So what I mean by that is there's no point trying to be completely upright and have those elbows in close if you don't have the mobility to do so, because what will end up happening, you end up arching, you change that arm path anyway. So you can use a machine like this and you can set up on a little bit more of an angle. So you can see now, I'm not quite in a skull crusher position, but I'm almost a little bit more on that sort of 60, 45 degree angle, rather than trying to force myself to be completely overhead. Man, that catches you out by surprise. I thought I probably had 3 or 4 more left then, but hit a wall pretty quickly on that one. So first worked and set done. We'll just do 1 more of those. Do a little bit of a drop set with some partials in that length and range. Triceps will be toast.
Oh man. Oh dude, I thought I was gonna have a seizure. Oh, we'll rest pause here. I was hoping to get 10 then. I think that's 4 at best. Oh, 15 seconds. Oh, man, I was almost going to ask you for a spot. We'll get 2 more. I want to finish off on 10. Oh. Last 2. 2 reps. Banger. Oh. Oh. Oh, man. Oh, dude. Oh, fuck. I don't know how ugly that was, but we'll count that rep. Oh, that is over.
How does that machine feel? Like what do
Dude,
you think of it?
good. I really like it. The only thing is, when you start to creep up on that failure point, it's like, it catches you out by surprise. You feel like, in my head, I'm thinking I've got 3 more, but once you hit that point, it's like, I guess because it's so isolated and targeted, nothing you can do will get you out of that position. So it definitely creeps up on you, but really nice piece, super smooth. I think after a few practice runs on that one, I get better at it, but certainly did the trick. Like, my triceps are done, so that's a wrap. All right, that was a wrap. So back in triceps here at the new fitness factory. It's been awesome out here, really loved it. And it's great to be back on the horse. I know it's been a little bit of a long time between shoots, but life has got the better of me, and my main focus has been being a dad and helping my clients out. So we're gonna get these coming more regularly. Whether it's a once a week or once a fortnight, to be confirmed. Next time around, we'll do something a little bit different. A lot of you guys have been asking about more of a day in the life of. So we'll have some at-home stuff. We'll do some more about what I'm eating throughout the day in this stage of the off season. We'll do a bit of a session, and yeah, we'll wrap it up into one nice video for you guys. So thanks a lot for tuning in. Like, subscribe. You got any requests, any messages, need help with your training, honestly, shoot me a message. I'm happy to help. Until next time, keep training hard.